You know what a pound note felt like if you lived in Britain in the 1970s. Big, green, and fresh. It was almost as big as a postcard. Put it in your pocket, and it didn't just crinkle. It had potential. That one note may pay for a complete night out, a family dinner, or a train ride to a new place. It doesn't buy much today, just a chocolate bar, but back then it went a long way. Let's go back to that world and explore how far £1 could take you. Begin with the bar. In the early 1970s, a pint cost roughly 18p. That meant 5 full pints for £1, with change ringing back over the bar. Imagine it. The carpets were sticky underfoot, there was a haze of cigarette smoke in the air, and the jukebox was playing Slade or T-Rex. You give the landlord your note, and he or she lines up the glasses without blinking. You hadn't even broken into your second pound after a complete round. But £1's power didn't end there. The identical note at the chippy got you 4 hot plates of fish and chips. The vinegar hit you first, stinging and sour, and it soaked through the paper. The salt stuck to your fingertips, and the trip home with that warm blanket under your arm was almost as nice as the first taste of batter. Back then, families didn't talk about takeout. This was the treat, and £1 made sure that everyone received enough to eat. For kids, £1 often meant going to the movies. It cost approximately 20 cents for a ticket, so 5 people could fit in on a Saturday afternoon. The usher's flashlight went across the seats. There were tubs of ice cream with little wooden spoons, and the television flickered with James Bond or the Railway Children. Parents knew that one note was enough to pay for the ticket, the food, and even the bus ride there and back. And then there was gas. A gallon cost roughly 33 cents in 1970. For £1, you could get 3 gallons of gas, which was enough for a 90-mile drive in a Ford Escort on a Sunday. An attendant still came out to fill the tank at the gas station. The smell of gas and heated asphalt. Dad is driving. Mom is taking the sandwiches out of their wrappers. Kids fighting in the back seat. £1 fueled all of it. That same note wouldn't even buy you a liter now. Cigarettes were everywhere in the 1970s. The pungent smoke smell was regularly in the air on trains, in pubs, and even in offices. A pack of 20 cost roughly 20p, therefore £1 bought 4 full packets. Whether you smoked or not, the memory stays with you. Rows of cigarette machines clunking in the corner of pubs, silver levers spitting out packages of Players or Embassy. £1 could keep a habitual smoker going for weeks back then, and tapping a pack on your hand before lighting up was as common as shaking salt on your chips. But not every pound went up in smoke. For a lot of families, it went all the way to bread, which is the main food in British kitchens. In the early 1970s, a loaf of bread cost about 9p. Therefore, 1p bought 11. Imagine the smell of a freshly sliced white loaf from the store, the sound of wax paper bags crinkling, or the thick sandwiches you make at home. Some mornings, it was toast with butter. Other days, there was jam, and other days, only thinly spread margarine. Bread wasn't a luxury. It was life, and £1 could feed a family for days. When fares were cheap, travel also looked different. A bus ride cost between 3 and 5 cents, so £1 could get you on 20 trips. You can almost hear it now. The bell made a metallic sound when you pressed it. The sound of kids running up the stairs to get to the front seats on the top deck. Conductors clicked their ticket punchers and gave out those stiff tiny rectangles of card. £1 could equal weeks of trips to class, the park, and the city center on Saturdays for a schoolchild in the 1970s. But the record store was the only location where £1 was truly magical. The 45s in Woolworth's bins cost roughly 50 cents each. That meant you could get 2 brand new LPs for £1. Imagine going through the racks and smelling the cardboard sleeves and new vinyl. You had to choose between Slade, David Bowie, or T-Rex. When the needle fell, the music filled your room. That was independence that just cost a £1 note and a walk to Woolies. And of course, chocolate was the only thing that kids could stretch. A bar cost about 3p. In the early 1970s, that meant that £1 could buy 30 chocolate bars. 30, you would leave the corner store with a full paper bag. Mars bars, milk chocolate, and Kit Kats. The fragrance of chocolate when you opened the foil, the snap of the bar, and the sugar rush that followed were all enough to share with friends or hide under your bed. All of this for the cost of 1 note. These days, you'd be lucky to get one for £1. £1 was part of the weekly shopping for a lot of families. In the early 1970s, a cart full of basic goods cost about £4 or £5. That meant that £1 paid for almost a fifth of what you needed. Maybe a block of cheese, bread, butter, tea, sugar, and canned beans. Imagine wheeling the clanging wire cart through aisles that smelled a little like cardboard and spice. Mom checks her handbag before adding anything else. That one note lasted for days of meals, and seeing a pound folded neatly in a leather handbag suggested that there was still food at home. Then there was milk. In the morning, there was a row of glass bottles on every doorstep in Britain. The foil tops shone. In the early 1970s, a pint cost roughly 5p. So, £1 bought 20 pints, which was enough for 2 pints a day for a week. The sound of bottles clinking in the crate, the coldness of the milk as you brought it in before school, and the happiness of taking off the silver or gold top were all part of everyday life. A pound note might buy tea, cereal, custard, and warm milk for the whole family at bedtime. For other people, a pound also represented a lager from the afflic. A can costs approximately 15, so £1 bought 6. You probably remember that Dad brought a party home. Those big beer cans that you had to open with a can opener. The sound of clinking glasses filled the living room. The match of the day was on TV. The smoke from the cigarette curled up to the ceiling. A pound was enough for a Saturday night of laughs and beer. That pound could even buy you a pair of shoes if you were going back to school. Cheap pairs started at Woolworths or Timpson's for about £1. The scent of stiff leather, the strange feeling of breaking them in, and Mom asking you to keep them polished all had to do with the thought that £1 note might make a child look smart when they went back to school. It wasn't fancy, but it was dependable, and families understood exactly what their money bought. Eggs were another important food that lasted a long time. A dozen cost roughly 20p, therefore £1 bought 5 dozen. Think like opening a cardboard box full of tightly packed shells. The noise of Mom frying eggs for Sunday breakfast or boiling them for the week's sandwiches. If you had a pound, you didn't only have eggs for the house. You had enough to give to your neighbors if you wanted to. Inexpensive, filling, and always there. Eggs showed that you could feed a lot of people with a little bit of money. And finally, a pound could even take you far away from your community. In the early 1970s, a round-trip train ticket to London for a short trip cost between 60 and 80. That meant that £1 was enough to pay for the full trip. Remember how hard those orange British Rail tickets were when you located your seat? The diesel engines were rumbling, the hot tea was provided in paper cups, and the seats were scratchy as the countryside went by outside the window. For just £1, you could go on an adventure as well as travel. You may go to London for the day to visit family, shop on Oxford Street, or just walk by the temples and enjoy the city's spirit before going home. In the past, it wasn't just about what you could buy with £1. It was about what it stood for. A night out with friends, a family supper, music playing in your bedroom, going for a drive on a Sunday, or taking a train to a new place. That one green note that was huge enough to fold twice in your pocket was heavy, not just in value, but also in memory. It's hard to picture today. A pound doesn't even make a sound in your change tray. But in Britain in the 1970s, that was enough to make a story that you would never forget. And maybe that's why people remember it so well. Not only the prices, but the way it feels. The way one note might make you laugh, feel warm, and even go on an adventure. We live in different times now, yet you can still hear it if you close your eyes. The sound of pint glasses clinking, a vinyl record crackling, and chips striking hot oil. All bought for £1.